Yeah, just it's Purim,
Hello.
so
Yes, okay. We're going to learn the Rebbe Sicho of Purim, Tafshin Tezvav, 1955. It's now, okay. The Rebbe says like this. For those in Seattle, it's probably still the fastest, just finishing up. Oh, no, it should have finished a little bit earlier. Okay, it says like this. B'negei l'simchas Yom Tov, with regard to the joy of Yom Tov, Hari Afa Pi Sheyesh Nechiyav Shal Simcha, Moedim L'Simcha, it's a time of happiness. Mikom Lakem, nevertheless, HaSimcha Hi, B'medida V'Hagbala, Sheyesh Ba Gedorim Misiyamim. There's, each one has its limits. Hold on a second, I just want to make sure. What did we learn last week? Hold on. Wait 1 second. Should make sure we didn't learn this last week. Just give me 1 second. We did, we're just continuing it. Hold on. No, last week we learned Parshas Vayakel. Okay. So the Rebbe is like this again. When it comes to the holidays of Yom Tov, even though there's an obligation for happiness, Moedim l'simcha. Mikol makom hasimcha hi b'medida v'hagbala. It's limited. Sheyesh b'gdar mesiyamim. There's certain rules. Shlachem paisik Rambam. The Rambam brings down the halacha. V'huva b'shulchan aruch ad merzak, and it's brought down in the code of the Jewish law. Shachayavim bezdin lahamet shoytim b'regalim. That the courts used to assign officers to stand there during the holidays. Limdaid as a simcha, to measure the happiness. We learned this concept before. And the police would, the officers would make sure that people didn't get out of hand. We're moving. Meaning to be that even that meaning to say is that when a person has joy on Yom Tov, even when you're in the most joyful moment and kind of letting loose, as they say, it has to have limitations. Don't do inappropriate things. Don't behave in a way that maybe, hey, Harry, that may not be right. Harry bevadai, shekadei lavi la simcha b'miluyai, kifi shetzarach liyas b'zman hazeh, tzrichem leilech midarga ledarga. And also, surely in the time of the temple, so even more now, to get to a proper simcha, happiness, a person has to climb the ladder of joy and happiness. And slowly, slowly. From how you were standing before. I mean, if a person wants to just say, boom, I'm super happy now. That's it's easy to say that, but it's hard to actually be that way. So you have to, happiness, like everything else, is an exercise. And just like we say, Ivdu es Hashem b'simcha, you have to serve God with happiness. So just like anything in service takes time, you can't lift 1,000 pounds right away. You have to go out to the gym slowly. So to simcha, you have to build it slowly. And especially if it has to be an appropriate simcha, like on Yom Tov, where they have officers making sure people don't do things that are inappropriate. You slowly climb out of your funk. You slowly climb out of your mindset until you could get to a situation of happiness. Like everything else, knowing what's the right thing to do doesn't mean that it's expected for you to get 100% there right away. That's impossible. Everyone would like to be able to run the marathon. Everyone would like to be able to be super fit. Doesn't mean it's going to happen right away. It takes time. The Rebbe says that's where everything else is throughout the year. But Purim is totally different. Just like on Yom Tov, the law is that the simcha has to have its limitations and built slowly. Purim has the opposite law. And the law in the Shulchan Aruch is you have to get out of your limitations until you don't know anymore. You have to reach the level of I don't know. That's the halacha. Get out of the limitations of your mind. Way beyond limitations. Now again, this doesn't mean to do anything unhealthy, doesn't mean to drink in an unhealthy manner. It means to be in a place of simcha where you get out of your limitations. Get out of what you know. The idea is get out of what you know. And because that's the case, therefore, you're unlike regular simcha, which you have to build up slowly to gain ground. And like we said before, that if there's Hashem Simcha, you have to get there slowly, step by step. That doesn't apply to Purim. A person can reach happiness. You could go from one extreme to the next right away. That's the power of Purim. That you could reach it. Not that you're gonna intoxicate yourself, but you could actually reach simcha from a place that you're not happy, or you're not feeling it, or you just really can't plug into it. In Purim, you're empowered to just fall back on simcha. Really just allow simcha to take over your life. Well, the higher, the Rebbe points out, Isa Yerushalmi, it says in the Gemara Yerushalmi, Gulasid Shal Yisrael, Hey Sharna, we're holding Beis on page 299 in the Sicho Chag Purim Tavshin Tezvav. We're talking about that Simcha on Purim is Ad La Yada. You could reach it without having to pace yourself. So the Rebbe is like this: Beis Ulahayer. Isa Yerushalmi, it says in the Talmud, Gulasin Shal Yisrael, the redemption of the Jewish people. Betchila Kamiya Kol Ma Shehi Elechas Hi Rabbi Ve'elechas. It goes slowly and it picks up speed. Kach Betchila, so too. Mordechai was first sitting by the gate of the king, meaning that's where he was sitting, by Achashverosh's gate. And what happened at the end? The end was that he sat there mourning. At the end, Haman had to take the garments of the king and the horse. And then the Jewish people had joy. So we see how things progressed positively. As Rebbe says, is brought down in the teachings of Tzemach Tzedek, the concept of this. The Rebbe is asking what challenging what he himself just said. He just said that the idea of Purim is to go, you don't have to pace yourself to reach Simcha, like Simcha is an avoda. And just like anything in life, you have to get there. So the Rebbe said that applies to all the year, the rest of the year. Becomes Purim, a person goes extreme to the place of simcha, but then we see the story of Purim wasn't like that. It built slowly.
What paragraph are you on?
We're just finishing page 299, the first paragraph in Beis. So in the story of Purim, the Rebbe is challenging what he said. Purim was slowly. The story progressed. First, Mordechai sat by the gate, and that his positioning there, which annoyed Haman, possibly Achashverosh, but Achashverosh was aware that he sat there, because he says, go find Mordechai sitting by the gate. So he knew he was there. And then from there came that he ended up, switching around, and Haman had to address Mordechai, all that. And then the Jewish people had joy, meaning that there was a miracle. So we see clearly that Purim was a progressive story, moved slowly. Kamiya, slowly. Achinin, who the idea is like this. Shahadvarim, page 300. Shahadvarim hanal shahaseidu ba'ofen the kamiya. This idea that we have to go slowly and pace ourselves. Oimim rak b'pam harishayna shahaisag zeira v'hutzruch levatala. You have to remember, there's one difference between how we celebrate Purim now and how we celebrate it and how Purim happened then. Purim then had to happen, so there was nothing to be joyful when Haman was sitting there with rags, because the Jewish people were under a decree of annihilation. And Haman was sitting there, so that was to eradicate the decree. There we had to have proper organized way of how you deal with the situation. And Mordechai's way of dealing, like the Rebbe always mentioned on Purim, that Mordechai, unlike the conventional wisdom, he didn't go out there and get signatures to go to the UN. He sat there and prayed, but that was his avoda. He sat there and prayed by the gate. Therefore, on Purim, to make the miracle happen, had to be slowly, step by step. But once the miracle already happened, that we broke through the boundaries and the limitations of what Haman was trying to do, on the first time, that paved the way. We broke through. And it showed us when the Jewish people have self-sacrifice, because we're after the fact the miracle happened. So that empowers us. The Rebbe always talked about this idea many times, that to open the faucet, so to say, to open the flow of certain ideas. Once you open it, it's open. Same thing over here. We opened through Mesiras Nefesh, that we were able to transform. The end of the day is we transform the story from sorrow to happiness. That we were able to turn that a person could go from the lowest point. Oimik tachas means your mamish. Oimik is the depth of lowliness. Nishapich la'omek ram to the highest of levels. Azayach chayim lagila simchas Purim. And therefore the simcha is an outcome of what you can transform in yourself. You could, just like you could, Purim taught us that we could turn around in 1 second from being in the lowest space in our possible being to the highest place. So therefore the simcha also could turn in 1 second. But Pratis Yaisa, the Rebbe says, I'm going to go into more details. Neis Purim Haifsa. What was the miracle of Purim? Shali's Hapcha. It was a transformation. Like it says, it was turned around. The Hapach means from the word lahafech, to turn around.
What's open? It's using all that word a lot.
Say that again?
What's open? The open.
The open is the way. In a way. Neis Purim Haifsa in a way of his Hapcha of transformation. Even though, again, everyone has to remember, everyone gives Haman the bad rap, but Achashverosh's signature was on the paper. Even though Achashverosh decreed to destroy and annihilate all the Jewish people. He himself, not someone else, wasn't that someone conquered Achashverosh. Now Achashverosh no longer is in power. He himself, he himself changed the decree. Lahashmid laharug la'abed is called chel amu medina tsar ma'isa, that he went and he decreed that the Jewish people could annihilate all the enemies of the Jewish people. Even more, even though the Rebbe emphasizes this point many times in his talks throughout the years, that even though that the story of Purim happened while we were servants of Achashverosh, we're still subjects of Achashverosh. He's still the king. Nevertheless, he changed his decree to allow the Jewish people to annihilate their enemies. Nevertheless, Achashverosh asks Esther, Mordechai, what do you want me to do? You tell me what to do and I'll do it. And Esther and Mordechai dictate and advise Achashverosh exactly what he's supposed to do, and he does it. One more day, more people, whatever it is. Even though it wasn't totally at his will, as the Medrash teaches us, the angels came in to give a helping hand, so to say, no pun intended, to Achashverosh. Shamalach Omid, that there was an angel standing there, and forced him to do it. So he was scared of the higher powers. But the angel didn't get rid of Achashverosh. The angel forced Achashverosh, or intimidated Achashverosh to the extent where he himself had to change his mind or his decrees. The Rebbe says, what does this mean? The L'chorei movement seemingly doesn't make sense. The Rebbe is asking the logic of the Medrash. So what's the Medrash saying? The Medrash is saying, we find this many Medrashim that says, Haman went out and the angels were chopping the trees, whatever. So the angels really came down to give a helping hand. So if the Rebbe says, if we needed the action of the angels to, so to say, force Achashverosh's hand, so we could have gotten rid of Achashverosh totally. If Achashverosh was just, so to say, intimidated or feared or manipulated by the angels in a positive way, because he'd saved the Jewish people, but at the same time, we could have just moved him. He wasn't even a descendant of kings. He just himself empowered himself. He crowned himself as king. This is the bottom line. That God wanted that Achashverosh should be the one who says it. That's part of God's plan. And if he wouldn't have wanted it, he would have found other ways. We find the story, it's a famous story, told about the Alter Rebbe. The Alter Rebbe was taken to prison, imprisoned for his spreading of Chassidus. So in the famous story of Yitzchak Kislev, so the story is told while he was in prison and being interrogated and being shuttled back and forth, he was on an island prison. So he had to take a small ferry. So it says, "Oidis Admar Azakin, b'Yosef b'Maser," when he was in prison, "Shekasher haviru b'Sfina agabe hanar b'Layla." They once took him by the river on the little ferry from the prison to his interrogation, which was on the land. He asked the the ferry driver, the boat driver, lahamd asfina, to stop, to turn off the motor, what have you, so the Rebbe could stand in a standing position, and while the boat was not moving, and bless the new moon. Which reminds me that anyone who hasn't blessed the new moon, we have a few days left. Very uncommon in Yerushalayim. I haven't been able yet to bless the new moon. I mean, last night I should have, and I forgot. So he said like this: and the ferry driver says, "No, I'm not stopping the boat. You're the prisoner. You don't give me orders." So what happened? The famous story: the boat stopped on its own. And then the boat started again. And then the Alter Rebbe asked him again. And then he realized that he's going to have to stop anyway, so he stopped. And he actually made the Alter Rebbe promise him blessings for stopping. The question is asked: if the Alter Rebbe miraculously was able to cause that the boat should stop, why did he have to ask him again? He should have just finished blessing the new moon, and then it would start again without disregarding what the captain felt. Why do we need this Gentile who was in charge of the boat? And so much so that the Rebbe doesn't say it, but the Alter Rebbe had to promise him certain things. Anyways, it wasn't dependent on him. So why would the Alter Rebbe want that he should agree to do it? And the Alter Rebbe, I think, himself explained this answer, because the question was asked of him by his colleagues. That the Alter Rebbe said then, mitzvahs have to be done in nature. We don't do miracle commandments, miracle mitzvahs. A mitzvah is you take an esrog, you take a lulav, you light Shabbos candles. A mitzvah has to be done within the laws of nature, not beyond nature. So the Alter Rebbe was able to, so to say, intimidate the captain, or make him realize that he's not going to get to the other side of the river until he agrees to stop the boat. But the actual blessing of the new moon has to be done in a natural way. We find this in many laws of the revealed parts of Torah. That miracle intervention, you can't do that. You don't fulfill the mitzvah. Right? You can't fulfill the mitzvah in a miracle. It's brought down Allah of certain things. Even though the Alter Rebbe needed miracles to motivate, so to say, the captain, but the actual mitzvah itself was done only once the captain himself agreed to stop the boat. There has to be some sort of connection to nature. That the captain should agree to stop the boat. So we could say, maybe seemingly, the Rebbe says, the same story of Purim. Yeah, of course, the angels could have just made things happen. But God wanted that Achashverosh, even if he's intimidated by the angels, should agree. Even though Achashverosh wasn't 100% willing. He was forced to, so to say, by higher powers. Why did we need it at all for him to get involved? That he's going to sign the paper. If you're ready in a situation of miracles, just go with it. But the fact is that it happened through him. Then it's transformation. Even though he was, so to say, forced, but there's still a transformation. The Rebbe was teaching us a concept. We find a similar thing in Paro, right? Paro, God could have just marched the Jews out, but God wanted that Paro should say leave. The Rebbe says, what is this idea that we achieve transformation even if seemingly there's forces that force a person to agree to allow for the way of Torah to happen, like the story of the boat or the story of Achashverosh. So the Rebbe explains like this. The idea is like this. What's the bottom line of the whole creation? God doesn't want to say that the world is dark, and we're going to push away the darkness. Or also, the idea is not that a person sometimes, this is also in our own private life. A lot of times there's darkness in our life. It doesn't have to be darkness in mood. It could be negative things that are happening in our life. So you say, let's get rid of it, push it away. Or why does it have to confuse me? Yivalvel. Why does it have to overwhelm me? I can't focus on the things I want to focus on because I'm distracted by things that are on my mind, that are kind of our darkness. It's not only enough that we should that God should miraculously make it that the darkness in the world shouldn't disrupt you or confuse you in your service. The idea is you got to turn the darkness into light. That's very hard. Like it says, hey, oh, Ariel, welcome back. Again, condolences on your mother. We find when it comes to how we serve things, when it comes to the permissible things. The Baal Shem Tov's philosophy was that when you have things, the permissible, the famous teaching of the Baal Shem Tov, right? When you see the chamor, the material of your body that's interrupting you, so the Baal Shem Tov says you shouldn't push it away. You don't break it. You have to help it. Your body has to be complete. You don't hurt your body. And with your body, you take the strength of the body and make it to the strength of the soul. And that's same thing over here. We don't pray. I mean, we do sometimes pray to get us out of darkness, but the idea is not to get us out of to push away the darkness. The idea is not to, the height of the idea is not to try to get the darkness to not confuse us and overwhelm us, to put it in a box and put it in storage. The idea is you have to turn the darkness into light. Therefore, the angel comes down. He's going to take Achashverosh that his nature and his instincts is to be destructive and hateful to the Jewish people. That Achashverosh himself doesn't have to say that you could save yourself and the Jewish people have the right to live. Achashverosh himself annuls the decree. Now there's the annul the decree. He makes a second decree that is totally the opposite, that empowers the Jewish people to defend themselves. And because of that decree, the enemies of the Jewish people became fearful. It means the fearful wasn't the Malach maybe was standing by Achashverosh, but what scared the people was when they received the king's edict that said that the Jewish people have the right to kill their enemies. It says that there was a tremendous conversion process that happened over the story of Purim. It says, Rabbi mi'ami aretz, many of the people misyadim became Jewish. Now the Rebbe says, once we've already accomplished that in the story of Purim, as to change from one extreme to the next, from Achashverosh giving a decree of destruction to giving a decree and allowing the Jewish people to properly defend themselves and protect themselves. Sound familiar to anyone? In the first time, it's not a wonder. So therefore, when a person realizes this, how could you not understand what Purim demands from a person, he or she, to be happy? Not slowly. Take it from yad right away. Things have totally changed in my life. That we go straight from Tainus Esther, which were just those of us have wrapped it up past few hours, is Divrei Atzomis V'Zakasim, which we talk about fasting and crying out to Hashem. In memory of the crying that happened the first time the Jewish people cried and pleaded with God to save them. We don't have to wait many months. That things change. Take of me out right away. We go from Tainus Esther to Purim, and this year we have Shabbos and Zachar in between. I'll take of me out Geherifying with a blink of an eye. Not just at the end of Purim you reach that you don't know anymore. From the second Purim comes in, I don't know anymore. No more limitations. The Rebbe says, what's the bottom line? This was, by the way, a very fascinating Farbrengen. 1955. It wasn't held in the shul. Those days they didn't have a large synagogue in 770 like we have today. They had a small shul, so what they would do, like it says in the star in the beginning of the Farbrengen, they would do his tvadut, the Farbrengen, in a hall. They rented a hall in Crown Heights. So here it was a much larger space, and the Rebbe could Farbrengen, and the crowd could be there. And the Rebbe was very, very happy. At the end of the Farbrengen, the Rebbe blessed anyone who would like to be rich to raise their hand, and he would give them a blessing for wealth. People, you hear it on tape, people were a little intimidated, Not that many people lifted their hands, but whoever did ended up becoming fabulously wealthy. The Rebbe says, what's the bottom line? Since we're holding deep into the night of Purim, we're going out from Purim into Shushan Purim. Now, for sure, we're not going to slowly try to achieve Simcha. We're going to start with a storm. Like the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, my father-in-law used to say, Trumoy. I guess I'm not sure what that means. I guess that's an expression of a storm. We should start immediately with a joyful song. And everyone should sing the song without any limitations. The Rebbe says, he suggests that at least one person should offer, should so to say, should make an offering to reach true unconditional joy. Then the Rebbe said the Maimer Reishis Goyim Malek, a very, very powerful Maimer and idea on a Malek and what a Malek means and what a Malek means today, and now a Malek is a chutzpah and irrational attitude toward life and towards God to the Jewish people. All right, so we'll learn a little further. The Rebbe is like this: we find something that is different in Purim than. Hold on, let's see how long this is. If we're going to finish it or not. This is a long talk. Hold on. Hold on. Long for bringing. I will go as far as we could go. So the Rebbe is like this: we find something by Purim. Hey Harry, nice to see you. That we don't see in other holidays. We know that every holiday is connected to a time, and as we see it in the names of the holidays, the name of the holiday is Yomim, days of Tovim. Harizmanim Shave Eitzakol B'nei Yisrael, and everyone celebrates it on the same day. For instance, the Rebbe says when it comes to Passover, Shekol B'nei Yisrael Chaykin Gim Yom Tov Zeh B'Ois Izman. Everyone celebrates it the same day. Everyone has a seder. The 15th, the night entering the 15th, leaving from the 14th to 15th. That's everyone. The only thing is that when it comes to outside of Eretz Yisrael, because of the reasons that they decreed of not knowing the days of the new month, so we do a second day. So the second day is not because we're being different than the Jews in Eretz Yisrael, just because we weren't sure what day was the 15th. So we had a safety net. Because we're doubtful of what day was the 15th. Even though today we have a calendar, but the decision was made by the rabbis that if our forefathers outside of Eretz Yisrael kept 2 days, we're also going to keep 2 days. Even though today everyone has the calendar equally, not just in Eretz Yisrael. And let's say there's a unique situation for certain individuals that was maybe impure or was distant from the temple in temple times. And for whatever reason that this person or he or she was impure or far away from the temple, and therefore they couldn't sacrifice the Passover sacrifice because they weren't there, or they weren't allowed to come because they were impure. So then they have a second opportunity, which is the Pesach Sheni, the 14th of the next month. That's only about the sacrifice. But surely, for all the other things connected related to Pesach, for instance, not having chametz or eating matzah, surely the person who's impure and can't enter the temple space to be part of the sacrifice doesn't mean that person, he or she, okay, I'm doing Pesach Sheni, so I will clean my house in the year, and I'm going to eat matzah in the year, and then today I'm going to have myself a nice tuna sandwich. Doesn't work like that. that you have to still eat matzah. You have to have no chametz. You're not allowed to have chametz in your house. The only thing is that the sacrifice you couldn't sacrifice, and that you can make up in the next month. The Rebbe's point is that even though there's certain individuals that will have kind of an additional opportunity to participate in the Passover, that's only about one part of the Passover lamb. But as far as the rest of the holiday goes, everyone celebrates at the same time. The Rebbe is basically going to the question, why does Purim have 2 different days? It means not just 2 different days because of doubt or 2 different days because of impurity. Literally, I'm going to sit there. When you guys are all going to go Saturday night to the synagogue, wherever you guys are, in New York, Seattle, what have you. So you guys, or in Tel Aviv, you're going to all celebrate Saturday night, and by me Saturday night I'm going to have a malav malka and sufficient challah. Why? Because I'm only going to listen to the Megillah on Sunday night. There's one exception to the rule, and when is that? That's Purim. Yemei Purim nikfu melechatchila. When they made up the holiday of Purim, they initially set it up as such, in such a way that the people who sit in the regular cities, that don't have the unwalled cities, they're going to have the celebration of Purim on the 14th, means the 13th by night, they're going to read the Megillah, and the 14th by day is going to be the holiday with all the laws of Purim, the Suda, the Simcha, the meals, the gifts, and all that. And those who live in the cities or are present in the cities that are surrounded by walls, and that's another whole discussion, what cities qualify for what. But Jerusalem is one of those cities. Shushan, like the city of Shushan, which was in Rome, in Iran, is Osem as Yom HaChamisha. There, the holiday is all on the 15th. Means the day that's Purim in the rest of the cities. It's not a holiday. I don't have an obligation to do anything. I don't have to eat matzah. I have to be happy to celebrate with other Jewish people. And we don't say tachnun. We don't say the certain things that we don't say on holidays. But there's all the mitzvahs of Purim, and especially the Megillah. That's not things that I do on the 14th, unless I would leave Jerusalem. If I were to leave Jerusalem Saturday night and go outside of the space, the boundaries of Jerusalem to another city, say Beit Shemesh, what have you, so then I would have the laws, because I'm going to be a person who's celebrating on the 14th, and there's a lot of technical laws about that. So too on the opposite. That the city that is in Purim, that are in the cities that are walled, and a Purim B'arei Prozis. They don't have on the 15th. It's not Purim for the other places. Tel Aviv is not celebrating Purim on the 15th. So he says, "Ve'im loy dai b'chilik zeh." Not only that, there was another difference that in the times of the Mishnah and the beginning of the Talmud, that they don't do this anymore. But it used to be that people that lived in certain villages, that they would never get a minyan and stuff like that. So they were able to read the Megillah earlier at the Yom HaKnisa, at gathering days. I mean, let's say, what do they call, market day. So when there's market days, the market days affect that a person's going to be able to be in a public area. So the rabbis made a provision that you could starting from the 11th, you could already gather together and then listen to the Megillah. The Yudalef Yud Beis Yud Gimel on the 11th, 12th to 13th. There's a special verse that the rabbis took out of the Megillah that was hinted by Esther, that Esther made this provision that each person in Bismaneihem in their time, means each person has a time that they could work out. Today we don't do that. There's no one who reads the Megillah on the 11th, 12th, or 13th, means the 12th by night going into the 13th. But in the times of the Talmud, of the Mishnah, they did. Let's skip the brackets. Sha'omru azah b'gemara ikri kan leisis goydidu leisasa gudes agudes the nira can hagen base tires kishakarim kfarim as a megillah b'yem knisa vayaris gedas b'yudalet. And there was even a conversation that says that you're not supposed to make different groups do different things. Torah should be one Torah for everyone. That someone's reading on the 11th, someone's reading on the 12th, someone's reading on the 13th, someone's reading on the 14th, someone's reading on the 15th. Because some people are doing Purim, other people are weekday. So what do we see? That our location, our places dictate when Purim is. But we just said before that Purim is above time. So which one is it? Is it above time? Or is it actually extremely dictated by time? Unlike any other holiday, Purim is very time conscious. If you're a person of a village, you read it earlier. If you're a person from an unwalled city, you read it on the 14th. If you're from a walled city, you read it on the 15th. Doesn't mean the walled city like Rome or something like that. I mean, there's qualifications for those cities. We just said that you have to go out of your limitations. And we see that Purim is all about limitations. Where do you live? Where's your address? What time were you here? What time you were there? I used to have a Rosh Hashiva that would give a shir every Purim exactly what's the laws if you're, because in America you don't have these complications because no one in America reads on the 15th. But by us in Yerushalayim, if I were to leave to Beit Shemesh and go Saturday night and come back, what time do I come back? Am I there for sunrise? Am I not there for sunrise? If you're there for a certain time, and what's your intentions? All these things that are these complicated laws about if you have to celebrate the 14th, or if you have to celebrate the 15th, or if you have to celebrate both, right? So all these different complicated laws are very detailed. And here we're saying the whole idea of Purim is ad l'yada, you should have no limitations. If a person gets out of, yes, Harry?
I just have a question. Reading of the Megillah. Can you read the Megillah to me? If that was the case, if I couldn't go to the synagogue, can you read the Megillah to me over Zoom?
No. Zoom is not considered it's not kosher for any kind of communal thing.
So you have to do it in person.
Yeah, if you can't make it to shul for whatever reason, you would try to read the Megillah if you can out of a Megillah by yourself or have someone come to your home. Worst case scenario, you would read it out of a book, but that's really worst case scenario. You're supposed to read it out of or hear it from someone who's reading it out of the scroll. So you would have to try to make your way to some Chabad or some center, some party that's doing a Megillah reading.
Okay, and then the second thing is. You were talking about blessing the moon.
Mm-hmm.
If you can't see the moon, you can't bless it. Is that true?
Exactly. That's why I didn't do it last Saturday night. It was cloudy and rainy.
So you say we only have a couple days? Well, it's supposed to be raining over here. So how are you supposed to?
If you can, you can. Nothing you can do. But if you get a moment that you see the moon, you right away, try to quickly bless it. But if you can't, you can't. But I'm sure it's happened.
Is there like a couple words that you could say, or real quick? Because if it just goes in between clouds,
it's a good question. I don't know. I mean, you could say quickly the main blessing. It's found usually if you go in your siddur, you'll find it under blessing the new moon. The part that says Baruch Atah Hashem. So you start there. I guess that's the main blessing of it. But it's not so long. It's a few minutes to say, even in English.
So do you have to, like, when you, I don't want to take up too much time, but when you say it, and you said it's a couple minutes, is it okay to say it as long as you see it for a quick second? Can you continue? Can you continue saying it while, I mean, if the moon goes away, can you continue saying it?
So you're not supposed to look at the moon. You look at it once, and then you make the blessing, and you don't look at it again. So then if it goes away, it's not your fault. You didn't look. When you stand there, say the blessing, you look, and then you don't look at it again. But I need to run in a few minutes. So I just want to finish with the Rebbe's answer. So the Rebbe says like that. So what do we see? It turns out, Purim has two extremes in its attitude. Michad on the one side, it's the most time-conscious holiday. If you're a villager, if you're a city person, if you're a walled city person, that the times that you have to celebrate Purim is dictated by what place you live. Well, on the other opposite extreme, this is the Rebbe 101. That the Rebbe's 101 is that take the most limited space and get out of your space. Means a person sometimes could just say to the kid, I have no rules. No, there's tons of rules. Are you a villager? Are you this? Within your limitations, get out of your limitations. They said, in your limitations. You have to be in a way of ad lo yada. Means that's the tension. The tension is that you have limitations, and in that 4 inches of space, you're totally sort of say weightless in your freedom of mind. And the Rebbe says, I'm going to try to get to the Hayra, just one more paragraph. But Hayra, he said, what is the lesson from this? In Yanis Purim, Shayade Zachal in Esther Purim, the ideas of Purim that gave us the miracle. Who avoided the Mesiras Nefesh? What was it? Is the person's self-sacrifice for God and Torah. Shemeshach Kol Hashan, an entire year of the Jewish people staying steadfast with God. Amdu Kol Bnei Yisrael Minar Vadzakin Tapin, man, woman, child stood betnush and Mesiras Nefesh, self-sacrifice. They were not going to give in to Haman. The Rebbe brings down many times that the Jewish people would have converted, Haman would have dropped it. Notwithstanding with the knowledge that Haman wanted to destroy the Jewish people, they didn't back it down. Every single Jewish person stood with Mesiras Nefesh. Like the previous Rebbe says in the name of Tzemach Tzedek. Why does it say Yehudim with 2 yuds? Even those who didn't know or didn't want to know that they were Jews. Because it doesn't change the fact they're a Jew. And so too, Haman wanted to destroy them. Like Hitler didn't care if you felt you were Jewish or not. If you're Jewish halachically, you're going to be killed as far as Hitler was concerned. Lahashmid es kol haYehudim. Therefore, every single Jew stood with Mesiras Nefesh. Even the most simple Jew. Even if that person doesn't want to know that they're Jewish, nevertheless they stayed in their Jewishness. And the Rebbe says, and I'm going to skip again. And that's what it means to get out of your limitations until we don't know. When it comes to knowledge, what does it mean until you don't know? When you ask one Jew, how Jewish are you? Oh, I'm not so Jewish, or I am Jewish, I'm less Jewish, I'm a Saturday Jew, I'm a this Jew. That's when you have a conversation with someone, then they start saying how Jewish are we? We get out of the conversation. No one's asking you. You're a Jew. We're not going to limitations. You're born a Jew, your mother's a Jew, you have a Jewish soul. On the contrary, what are we saying to the person? We're not going to talk about your Jewishness. You are a Jew, just feel it. Therefore, yes, you could be a village person, you could be a city person, you could be a walled city person. Every person in their category has one thing in common. It's not about a conversation. We're not going to talk about it. I'm Jewish, I'm going to feel it, I'm going to live it. Laila Tov, everyone. Happy Purim Sameach.
Can I say one thing before you go?
Go.
Ariel, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I want to say my condolences, and I hope that your mom is resting in peace and she's in a good place.
Amen. Thank you very much. Amen. I like and amen. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome, buddy. We love you.
Take care. Have Purim. Ariel, you should only know Simcha. Only know good things in your life.
Amen. Thank you very much. Thanks. Yeah. Thanks a lot. Amen. Yeah. Like.